The student, again, highlights the paragraph. They're going to move within the document, and they're going to highlight the paragraph that they want to move. They press return, and now they move their cursor, which is the little blinking image that you see on your screen, up to the first paragraph, and they press return, and they have just moved, hi, this is the first letter, right underneath where it says, Dear Helen. As you can see, there are many, many different things that students can perform using these different commands. After reading through the letter that they have written, these students might have realized that they said in a few weeks they will learn about databases and spreadsheets. By rights, it should be in a few months. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right past weeks, and we're going to use the delete key to delete that word. This is used when you just want to delete 1 or 2 words at a time. And then they're going to insert the word months by simply typing it in, and they're finished correcting weeks into months. They will now press a key to get them back to the beginning of the file. Students have learned how to get from the beginning to the end of the file, once again, by just pressing a few key commands. They might decide that everything looks pretty good, except they start reading it, and someone comes over and says that they've spelled the word AppleWorks as 2 words. We find that AppleWorks really should be 1 word. At least that's the way it's spelled most often. So what we're going to do, rather than go through the whole file and change every single one, we are going to give a command called the replace command. The student gives the command and says that he's going to replace text. It's going to ask, the computer is going to ask what they're going to replace. Well, we will type in the words Apple, space, and works. The next thing the computer will do is ask, what do you want to replace it with? And we are going to type in 1 word, AppleWorks. Now, AppleWorks has the ability to replace things either 1 at a time or all of them at one time. We're going to do all to save some time. We hit return, and there you have it. All the AppleWorks have now been replaced, and we now have 1 word as opposed to 2. We now go back to the beginning of the file. Our students are pressing Open F1, which takes them to the beginning. And we see that our letter looks pretty good, and we're now ready to go to the printer and print it out. If for some reason a student decides that he would like to, or she would like to send another letter to another friend, the same letter, all they have to do is go down to where it says Dear Helen, and they're going to go and use a different command this time, and they're going to yank out the word Helen because they're in front of it, and they're going to type in a new name, possibly the name Jason. That allows them now to send this letter to any number of students that they might wish to send to by simply changing the name and then printing it out at the printer. Our students cannot print out here because we don't have the facilities, but in school they can go to the printer, they can save their file, and then they can boot it back up and print out whatever they like, and they learn different commands using the printer as far as enlarging the print or making the print smaller, whatever the case may be. Thank you very much. We also expose our students to many other types of programs. One of those programs is called the Print Shop. This is a program that allows students to perform different activities. We're going to ask 2 Beck students to go over and boot up the Print Shop. And what we're going to show you is that it is possible for students to make posters, banners, signs, greeting cards, book report covers, or any other task that they might have with a program that is very simple to use. One of the Beck students using this program has never used it before. And you're going to see that it is that simple that he can go through the program with very little advice or very little leadership. They're now booting up the Print Shop, and as you can see, the first thing they get, just like they did in AppleWorks, is a main menu. This is one of the things that we try and stress on the students as they work through AppleWorks. As they work through AppleWorks, we realize that it's just like many, many other programs they will use. The first thing they get is called a main menu. And what they want to do now is choose what they would like. Well, we're going to make a sign, so they're going to go down a sign, and they're going to hit return every time they decide what they are going to do. We're going to design our own sign, so therefore we have to decide what kind of border we want. The students are now choosing the border they'd like, And they may choose any one that they desire. And now they have to decide whether they want a graphic. So since we don't have any folders with us, we're going to choose by picture, and the computer, the program will show us what pictures are available. These students are picking a picture from the first menu so that we can save some time. The next thing that you will notice is that the program will ask us what size we want our picture to be. We're going to choose large. And now we have to choose our font. That's the type of print that we're going to use. The students are picking any one of many that they might have available. After they decide the font that they want, the type of lettering that they want, they will now type in their message. We're simply going to type in something like good luck. We're going to type good at the top of the page, and we're going to type luck at the bottom of the page. After doing this, since this is a color program, we're going to hit return, and the next thing the computer will ask us is what colors do we want for our border and for our graphic and for our font and for our background. Well, since we're not going to actually print this out, we're not going to worry about the colors, so we're just going to hit return and go to the next part of the menu. There are many choices we have now that students can use. One, for example, is we can save this on a disk and use it later on. We can also decide how many copies we want. And we can also print this backwards. A lot of students immediately ask the question why you would want to print something backwards. And the answer usually is that if you want to put it on a t-shirt, you would have to print it backwards so that you could then later on iron it and then have a t-shirt with whatever picture or design you might have made. All right, let's go back to preview and preview what we've done. The preview will show us whether the students have what they would like. And now you see one student has put a pumpkin, the other student has put a graduate on his screen. One student made the good a little bit larger by using a command. One student left his the way it was. As I said, this program was done by showing you that one student has never used the print shop before. He hasn't had the opportunity in school yet to use that. Hopefully later on in the year he will get a chance to do different things with the print shop. We try and show the students that there are many, many programs that are available to them. It is often the case that a student will ask what they're going to use AppleWorks for. After delving into it for a short period of time, we hope the students see the ease that they can use AppleWorks with and what great things they can perform by using the program called AppleWorks. We're going to take some questions later on, but right now we'd like to show you some things that are going on at the elementary school level. So I'm going to turn the program over to Mr. Terry Patton and Mrs. Ethel Graham, who will teach you or tell you some things that are going on at the elementary school level and introduce some students to you that will show you what's happening with the elementary schools. Mr. Patton.
At the elementary level, we have basically three phases of our program. One is a computer course of study taught in grades 3 to 6. Second is we have an emphasis of integrating the computer into the current curriculum. And 3 is to use it as a supplemental for people who want to do remedial work in math, reading, particularly, and or enrichment in the same areas. The computer course of study that we have in grades 3 to 6 deal with computer, learning the computer keyboard, learning basic keys and function keys that are on a computer that may be different from a typewriter, and learning also the keys of a typewriter. We also have a section where it teaches the history of computer technology, particularly in the development in the last, say, 30 years. We also introduce the students to computer system. What are the components of a computer? We talk to them about computer software. We get involved in the area of ethics as far as working with computer software, talking about the difference between copyrighted programs and public domain programs. There is a little an introduction to flow charting and programming in that present computer course of study. One of the things that we were trying to do in the computer course of study is say, what can be used with it, what can the computer do that we cannot do in the classroom? And one of the areas that we have emphasized in this 3 to 6th grade program is using simulation programs. They are programs that reenact activities or concepts that may be taught in the classroom. For instance, at grade 3, we have a program called Nomad, where the students work through map skills. On grade 4, we have a program that is called Sell Lemonade, where the students try to work through a series of math skills, and they are working with setting up a lemonade stand. And each time they work through it, they set up new variables that would make it a little bit more difficult to figure out mathematically what they have to do. On grade 5, we have a program called Oregon Trail that's related to their social studies program on westward expansion, where they actually take a trip across the Oregon Trail and they have to reenact many of the events and variables that happen to people going across there, dealing with weather, money, food supply. On grade 6, we have a program called Oh Deer, which simulates the management of a herd of deer that are encroaching many of our urban areas, and the students have to make decisions on how this herd of deer has to be managed, which goes along with our environmental studies. So we try to think of ways that we can use it within our curriculum. Also, in the 5th and 6th grade program, we introduced the students to word processing, where the students get an opportunity to type in a little text, edit, print, and save. On grade 5 and 6, we also introduced them to database. A database where in grade 5, since they're studying explorers, we may have a database set up with explorers, and they have to think of different categories that they can call up these explorers, maybe by country, maybe by date. On grade 6, they try to design and create a database maybe based on South America that they may study, and they would think of all the different categories they would like to create a database based on South America. In assistant instruction, we try to set up programs that are available for the teachers and the students that would reinforce concepts. Perhaps many times a child would not learn a concept easily, where the computer would take that concept and reteach it and reteach it and reteach it, and it has that infinite patience that the teachers sometimes cannot endure. Also, we have many drill and practices in this area. This not only helps the child doing remedial work, but also may be a good idea for students who are going into the area of Richmond. Maybe not part of the curriculum, but they are ready for it and you can present it to them. As we develop new curriculum, we try to integrate the use of a computer within that curriculum. For instance, right now, the township is working on an elementary science program, and every time we get an opportunity to use a computer program that would perhaps enrich or use a scientific process, we will integrate it. We have a program that we're using right now called Quake, where when the students are studying the earth and the movement of the earth, and we get into the area of earthquakes, what the computer does is simulates earthquakes, and you get 3 seismographic readings from different parts of the country. The students try to mathematically figure out where the earthquake is, and the computer tests their knowledge of that. We have another program called Skylab, when the students are studying constellations or the movement of the earth, and this computer program actually shows this movement very easily. We also have another program that I like to demonstrate called Science Toolkit, and what that does is uses the computer to take the place of many scientific equipment, pieces of equipment. I'd like to demonstrate this at this time.
Mr. Patton, at this time, we'd like to call Jeffrey Simons and Jessica Loria to come to the computer so that they can get ready after you're done. We also would like to remind you all that this is a call-in show, and later on you'll have a chance to call in any questions you might have on either the elementary or junior school curriculum. We hope you will call in your questions, and we hope that we can answer them.
One of the nice things about the Science Toolkit is that it tests for so many different instruments that you may spend a great deal of money, and the computer can do it very easily. We have, into the game port of our computer, we have a couple of probes that test for heat and light. We can use it for our thermometer, a light meter, a timer, and it can test for speed, time, whatever you have that would need these type of instruments. What I'd like to do is just quickly demonstrate how easy one of these instruments, and I'm going to go to the light meter. The probe that's hooked up to the light meter, it's very easy. Again, a nice menu that's presented to the students. It says all you have to do is hit the space bar to start something, and if you want to stop it, you do the same thing. We're just going to use this light meter to show you how easily it works, registering the light meter in foot candles. What I'm going to do is just take the cover that the program was in and just show you how light reacts to the black and the white on the cover. We're working with light candles. I will now put it up into just showing it from the light on the white, and we get something like 15, 13, 14, 15 foot candles. Now I'm going to move it over to the black, and you can see the recording is down to 0.2 foot candles. So it can be used in this area. We can test, for instance, if maybe it's a scientific experiment where we're going to use a light. What color absorbs most light? What color reflects the most amount of light? Very easy program. When we're ready, we can stop. If we wanted to go back to another type of meter, we can go right to maybe our thermometer. Just hit return. And we can start our thermometer. It can be set for just the specific temperature that you want, or you can set it for a maximum minimum temperature so that you can actually see the difference from where you are beginning right now, and then perhaps as I add some heat to my thermometer, how it rises very easily. I guess my body's functioning. Yeah, there it goes. I have some body heat. When you finish, you can just hit the space bar, and you can see the difference from the beginning temperature and the temperature it's completed. You can also use these same probes to test speed. You have a clock that's also available for it. And it can just be used for a particular time of a testing device that you are using by hitting the space bar for the beginning and the end, or you can actually use it in combination with the probes. And the light meter is used this if you wanted to test the speed of an object moving by, and you had a ramp at a certain speed, and you were working with the elevation of a vehicle that's going down this ramp with friction, whatever you have in the elevation, and as it passes the light meter, it'll record the particular time that it went by there. So a simple little computer program with a few probes can replace many an instrument. It also makes it very visual for a class. They don't have to read a thermometer that has to be passed around from student to student. You can set it up on a large monitor so that all the students can see it at one time.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. As you can see, we try and show students that they're not going to actually do programming. They can get the programming in the high school if they decide that that is what they're interested in. There are many electives at the high school that students may choose. We try and show them that by booting up a program and learning how it works, it will lead them to other programs in the computer field. And now we'd like to turn the program back to Ethel Graham, who's going to show us what some of her students have done at the elementary school level.
in the elementary schools, we do some introductory basic programming, and the reason for this is to help them to appreciate certain things. The first of which is that computers won't do anything until you tell them what to do. It's not a magic box. They're going to demonstrate a little slideshow of some graphics that the students did last year. When they're finished, they'll tell you a little bit about how they started and what they accomplished. So Jeffrey is booting up a disk of a slideshow. We did some low-resolution graphics last year and put it into a slideshow. So Jessica, if you'll stand with Jeffrey, and the two of you can explain what's coming up. It's Jessica Lauria and Jeffrey Simons.
Well, what we did was we made a grid, and then we just drew a picture on graph paper. And what we did is we made a program, and then we put it in a list, and then we printed it out in the computer, and then it showed up as pictures.
All right, well, let's look at the pictures for a little bit, and then you can tell us a little more later. Do we have the first picture yet?
This explains a little bit how to do it. Oh, here it says 10 graphics, which means it starts. And then you type in the color that you want. There's 16 different colors. And then plot means 1 dot. So she wrote plot at a certain number, like 30, 16. And there was a dot there. This is a house made by Matthew, one friend. I made this. It's Phillies flashing on and off. To flash, you put go to and type in a different color. You can also put sayings on the bottom typed in. That is big.
This was done by Stuart, and he wrote NASA spaceship.
Mitchell Weissman did this one. It's supposed to be an alien. Ryan Katz made this eagle, and on the bottom it says American Eagle.
Nori Brownstein did this one. It's M&Ms, and the things that are flashing on and off are supposed to be M&Ms going back and forth.
Jimmy Aquilino made this picture, and it says NATO Industries, which is a company. Jordan Blau made this. It's his initials, JMB.
Karen Oding did this, and she wrote her name.
Tim Parr made this one. That's his name also.
Sabrina Corso made this, which was her name with a lot of dots going all around it.
This is a race car by Scott Camille, and this one has a background. You just type in background and then a color also. And on the bottom it says Rad Race Car.
This is Marla Schneider's. It says hi, and the bottom is supposed to be blinking a lot of colors.
This is made by Matt Schreibman, and it's supposed to be a teacher at a blackboard.
This was made by Amy Salmon, and she wrote her name. This was done by me, and its dot that goes up is supposed to be smoke. This sailboat was made by Karen Meltzer.
This is supposed to be Garfield, and it's made by Adam Peltzman. And as you can see, there's a background. This is Go, and on the bottom it says Phillies.
And we definitely did enjoy their show. That was great. You can tell that elementary school children come off on the camera a lot easier than the adults. They feel at ease when they're on the camera. We'd like to remind you again, we don't have Oprah Winfrey here or Phil Donahue, but we will accept your calls. If you'd like to call in, we will answer your questions. Right now, we'd like to introduce John Scarinci, who's going to tell us a little bit more about what's happening at the junior school level and other departments with computers. John?
Thank you, Fred, and I'd like to say that you're doing a fine job as our host here this evening, and hopefully we won't lose you as a teacher to something bigger and better.
Mr. Would be proud of you.
Yes, he would. Okay, the teachers at Beck School, which is where I am working, are very excited about the computer programs and are incorporating them in many aspects. Our science department, as a matter of fact, today conducted an after-school department meeting, and Miss Gilbert, who has been actively involved in putting a lot of test questions on a computer database program, presented this to the department, and there was a great deal of excitement in utilizing this. Our English department, with Mrs. Townsend as the lead teacher there, is planning to incorporate AppleWorks as part of her writing unit to begin later on this school year. Our physical education department is utilizing the computer to keep a log of the various statistics of the students in their program. And our corrective reading teacher, Mrs. Bruges, is utilizing computers in her program, and also as well in the basic skills program. Sports statistics are being kept by both myself and Mr. Prezano on the AppleWorks database, and various inventories throughout the school are being utilized also on computer. A long-range goal of our librarian, Mrs. Shoemaker, is to perhaps develop and incorporate a computer retrieval system to be used in the library by the students. So there you have it. At least at this point, there's a great deal of interest. We can use quite a few more computers over there to satisfy the desires of the teachers, and hopefully this is the first step to a rich computer future for the Beck School and the Cherry Hill School System. Back to you, Fred.
Thank you. We find that not only are the students enthused, but teachers are enthused about using computers as well. Many teachers are just learning the fundamentals of computers and are learning how to use software available to them. We hope that they will continue the use of computers throughout their curriculum. The number to call, if you'd like to call in your questions, is 663-6487. That's 663-6487 for any calls that you might have pertaining to computers or the junior school or elementary school curriculum. One question that we have here is, at what age do you believe students can learn the program AppleWorks? Well, we have found that students at the 3rd or 4th grade level can really handle working through AppleWorks if guided. We have workbooks at the junior school level so that students may work at their own level. They may go at their own speed, and hopefully they can progress either quickly or at a slower pace if that's the case. Another question that we have is it possible to learn databases and spreadsheets without learning word processing or just learning one of the 3 fundamentals? It is possible to learn just one. A student does not have to know all 3 in order to do one or the other. So a student may decide that all he's interested in are databases. A lot of students have collections of baseball cards or stamps or coins. What they can do is put their collection on a database, and then they can call up any information that they might want about a certain card, a certain stamp, or a certain coin that they might have. This saves them a lot of time and trouble later on by not having to look through all their files for a specific item that they might want to obtain. Once again, we'd like to remind you that if you'd like to call in, the number is 663-6487. At this time, I'd like to ask the panel if they would like to add anything to our program. Mr. Patton?
One of the things I forgot to mention as we were talking about elementary program is that we do have computer systems available in the schools, and it varies the way they are set up due to the structure of many of the buildings and how many people are in that, or classrooms are available. They may be used in a lab situation, or they may be on wheels that are rolled into each classroom. Starting this year, on the 5th and 6th grade level, each classroom will have a computer system, monitor, computer, and a printer. which should be in our classrooms very soon. It's a 3-year program. Hopefully by the end of the 3 years, we'll have a computer in each classroom in the elementary grade level.
Okay, Mrs. Ethel-Graham would like to add something?
One of the things that the children appreciate when they start programming is the amount of work required to write a program. We have a computer ethic code in Cherry Hill, and we teach them about the copyright laws and the ethics of copying and so on, and teach them what public domain means. So I just wanted to mention that as part of our curriculum.
Yes, and that's true on the junior school level. We do emphasize once again the computer software ethic of Cherry Hill Public Schools. We also introduce, or actually we review with the students, the history of computers in 7th grade, and we continue with the review in 8th grade. Another question that we have that someone has called in is they are wondering exactly how students progress through the AppleWorks program. And what we have found is that some students work very quickly through a lab. If this is the case, there are activities called on-your-own activities that the student may progress at their own speed. This way, a student does not have to hold himself up by being finished early and having nothing to do. There are also other software programs that the student has available to them. All right, we have another question here that we'd like to take. Question we have is, are there any other programs being used at the junior school level? Ms. Scrinchi, would you like to take that one?
Well, I know that, as I indicated earlier, that the basic skills program in our school, which incorporates both math and reading, does use a series of programs that have been created. I know that many of our science teachers are actively looking at the possibility of incorporating these in their school. As far as officially part of the junior school curriculum, no.
Thank you very much. Well, just as we were getting used to this program, we were being told that our time is up. We'd like to thank everyone who has watched us, and we hope you enjoyed our program. We hope to see you again in the future to tell you more as to what's happening in the junior and the elementary school level. We have great things planned, and we hope the computer program will continue for the next 10 to 15 years. Thanks again to our students from Beck, Carusi, and also from Bret Harte Elementary. They did a fantastic job, and we're very proud of them. We also would like to thank our cameramen, Chris Zimzak, David Haas, and Tracy Slabatkin. Also, we'd like to thank our directors, Mr. Gordon Hampson and Mr. Alan Hawes. Thanks again for tuning in, and we hope you tune in next week as Cable 18 brings you a new special next Wednesday. Thank you very much.